Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. It is Thursday, September 7th, and I think I've got a good vlog for you today. Made some progress on the dump truck, got a few other things done, and I'll tell you about those and tell you how Cash's music lesson went and just various and sundry things. Got a couple of tools to look at here too that I think you might find interesting and be very helpful in under certain circumstances. So let's start off with, since I didn't tell you about the Polaris Ranger, let's start off with that. Polaris Ranger. That thing's getting old. It's a 2009, and it was treated pretty rough, especially in its early days, by a few unnamed people. And I actually loaned it to one of my renters one time, and he seemed like a really nice guy and everything. And the guy took it through the river and just soaked it down. I mean, the whole engine, everything got water in it, just a mess. People are just stupider than anything. I mean, just really dumb. So anyway, bottom line is that Polaris Ranger's had a hard life. And it really is kind of on its last leg. And were it not for me knowing how to fix just about everything, it would have already been on its last leg, I can pretty well tell you. Well, I don't know, a week or two ago, I tried to start it out here in front of, I just drove it down here and then I got back in it to start it and it went ka-pow! I mean, one of the loudest backfires you would ever hear. It really was loud. And whoa, what was that? Well, it wouldn't start after that. So it had actually done that once before, and when it did it once before, I ended up putting in new fuel injectors in it, I think, and a couple other things with the fuel system. I don't know. Anyway, it's been working for quite a long time since then. Well, this time I thought, oh man, I don't want to have to put those back in there again. So I just let it set, and I looked it up on the internet, and sure enough, somebody else had that happen, and they said they just waited a few hours and it started right back up. Well, I let it set for a while because I've just been so darn busy. I just didn't have time to mess with it. And anyway, yesterday I took the fuel pump out of it. If you know anything about those deals, they have the same kind of fuel pump that's in most cars these days. It actually is a big round lid, and the whole pump sits down inside the tank. Well, that's the way that's made on the Polaris Ranger also. And I've incidentally replaced that 2 or 3 different times also over the years. Anyway, I pulled that out and looked down in the tank, and sure enough, had a lot of water in it, which could have been what caused the backfire. I don't know. But anyway, I cleaned the whole tank out, dried it out really good and all that, put it back together. It's running fine. So that was the first thing I did yesterday after I finished talking to you guys. Well, the second thing I did yesterday was this. Well, we've got a foggy one this morning. My goodness, just a wall of fog. Well, you see this big mess? Yeah, all of it. That all used to be on the dump truck. Look how twisted this lift is. You can see that ain't parallel with the thing underneath it. The thing underneath it goes like that. This goes like that. It ain't right. Lots of work. Let me show you what the dump truck itself looks like. So we're inside the shop here, and you can see the frame. I really thought that the whole frame was bent down, but it's not, I don't think. I think it's actually made that way. I first thought that was a lot worse than it is, although I think it is twisted. It got twisted a little bit, and they straightened it out some. Whoever worked on this did a reasonable job, I guess. This here is already broken, though, where they re-welded it. They put this new I-beam in here. Apparently, the other one was too twisted to mess with, and they remounted these things, so they did a pretty good job on that. But I'm going to have to beef it up. the end where the bed pivots is twisted really bad, so I'm going to have to fix that too. Oh well, here we go. Yeah, I got my work cut out for me on that whole thing. Yeah, it's a mess. The way that it was remounted, the front of the bed never went all the way down. It was rocking in that middle hump area, and it's just a mess. And they didn't straighten out, whenever they put it back together, they didn't straighten out the actual hydraulic lift part either. And the whole thing's just messed up. I mean, it's going to take quite a bit of work. It was quite a bit of work just taking it apart. Now I'm on the other end of it, trying to work toward fixing it. So getting it apart was one thing. After I got that apart, I was kind of wore out, so I just took a nice long break and waited till Cash got here for his music lesson in the afternoon, and then I went down there and gave him that lesson. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But right now, let's take a look at a couple of tools. I showed you in a previous vlog that I received this laser level, and I'm pretty happy with this thing. This is this Lasgoo, Lasgoo, or it's either that or G00, I don't know which it is. And anyway, it's also called an LG3DS, and it's a pretty cool machine. It's got, lines that go every direction. I thought I'd just show you how it works here. I'll set it down. What you basically do is you just set it down. You can kind of see it here barely on the camera. Maybe if I get it out here a little further, you can see it better. Anyway, you just turn this thing on right here. And you can see all the lines that came up on the wall there, see? And so like if you were trying to line up that plywood that's got those lines in it, like I just twisted it over there to where those lines line up like that. You can also turn off see there's a horizontal line. You can turn that off if you don't want that. Turn it back on. You can turn off the vertical laser lines too. There's two different vertical laser lines. They go at 90 degrees of each other. You see I turned that one off there, turning it back on, turning the other one back on too. So I've got one going this way that you can't see. So it's pretty cool. It really does. And it shoots at 360 all the way around, on the ceiling, on the floor. It's a pretty cool little outfit. So I haven't actually used it for anything specifically yet. But I tell you what, and of course you're not supposed to pick them up when they're, because this is in the automatic mode now, so it's all floating and it's self-leveling and everything. So you really should leave it still while it's in that mode. And you should turn it off with this, and this is a lock. Then it has a manual mode also, where I don't know how long you have to hold that, but like if you hold it like that, you can see now the lines are stationary, and you can pick it up. It's all locked now. So it's in the manual mode now. And so now you'd have to, I don't even know if it's self-leveling like that. No, it's not. I can see that now. In the manual mode, it's not self-leveling. So, anyway, I'm going to turn that back off. The bottom line is this thing's pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. I'm really, really happy I have it. And I'm sure I'll find uses for it, in days to come. Even just something as simple as your large screen TV. If you wanted to make sure it's good and flat and square and level on the wall, well, that thing there will tell you that for sure. Pretty cool. So I thought you might like to see how it actually does work. And throwing out all those different beams in all those different directions is pretty cool. All right, the other tool that I thought I would, whenever I think something's good, I like to tell you about it. I always tell you when they're bad, and when they're really good, it's worth telling you about also. Well, this one here is probably one you wouldn't be expecting, but here it is on the screen. It is a Bauer vacuum. It's a 14-gallon from Harbor Freight, and I've got, whoops, camera's this way. So, I've got it here, and I'm going to tell you right now, that thing's the real deal. It surprised the living tar out of me when I plug that thing in, and I mean, it will suck the wand to the floor. It's actually almost too much suction, if anything. I mean, seriously, in some cases, it's really almost too much. When you're trying to sweep the floor, even though I've got the brush on the wide thing, on the wide floor sweep, it'll suck that sucker right down to the floor, man. It's hard to push. Seriously, that thing is the real deal. And it was like $119 from Harbor Freight. And I think I got it on sale, So I don't think I paid that much for it. I've got, you got to understand, pretty sure I've got 4 other vacuums. 3 shop vacs for sure. And one of them, I'm not sure if it's a shop vac or another brand. But anyway, 2 of them are on their last leg. The other 2, one of them's a big one, and the other one's a kind of a small, medium one that are in pretty decent shape. Sue's always got those, so they're never in the shop where they're supposed to be. So because she's always got those, I thought, I'm just going to buy me another one for the shop, a good one, because I've got the 2 junky ones that, they're on their last leg. They're not very good at all. So now we basically have 5 of these things. 2 that work really well, and this one now, which works incredibly good. If you've been thinking about getting one, I'd recommend this over the shop vac. I really would. I think it's better than the shop vac. I truly do. Sue couldn't believe how strong it was either. She was skeptical because she's real skeptical about things you get from Harbor Freight. Me personally, most of the stuff I've been getting there lately has been excellent. It really has. But that vacuum, for sure, is the real deal. You'll thank me if you get that thing because it's killer. Now, that's the 14-gallon one. I don't know about their smaller one. I can't speak for it. Okay, let's see. That brings us to Cash's music lesson. Yeah, I told you that his assignment was to learn a song all by himself. Well, quite honestly, I think he cheated quite a bit. I wanted him to just pick a song, sing it, some song. I wanted him to pick a song that he already knew the words to and that he could just sing and then learn the chords to it. Well, he picked I'll Fly Away and I Saw the Light. And those are great songs to learn. They're both straightforward 3-chord type songs, easy to learn to play, all that. So he picked good songs. But as he started singing them, I could tell he didn't have the chords down quite right. And when he got to the, I don't know if it was the I Saw the Light or I'll Fly Away. I'll Fly Away. Yeah, I think it was I'll Fly Away. Yeah, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he started stylizing it. And when he started to sing the chorus, he wasn't singing the traditional chorus at all. And I'm saying, where did you hear that way of singing that? Because it's not even similar to the way and he learned it from Alan Jackson. I said, look, buddy, you're not ready to stylize yet. Once I'm convinced you got all the basics down and you got your timing and all that down and your chords, you can stylize all you want. But right now, buddy, you're singing it the straight way. So I had to show him the straight way to sing it. But he kind of let it slip that he was looking at chords from other places when because he had the wrong chord in one of those places too, where I think he said they were putting a C in there and versus a D. And I go, well, I'm sorry, but it's a D. It's not a C. And anyway, so make a long story short, he made a valiant attempt, but he didn't quite get there. So his assignment for this week is to take those same 2 songs and to learn them by heart without having to look at a piece of paper. He's very, very dependent on everything. He's only 10 years old. Yes, I know that. You might be saying, maybe I'm a little too hard on him. Maybe I'm pushing him a little too hard. I can read my students pretty well. I know he's capable, and he can do it. And you have to push yourself beyond your boundaries if you're going to learn anything. You'll never learn a single thing. You'll never improve a single bit if you don't go beyond your boundaries. And that's true on anything you do. I don't care what it is. You got to push yourself beyond your boundaries if you're going to get any better or learn any more. That's why I suck at playing mandolin. Because I've never pushed beyond my boundaries. That's pretty much the truth of it. And it is true. I mean, it's, I'm too old to care at this point. but anyway, I still am a genius regardless. This was probably somebody's lame attempt to keep me humble. Anyway, that's about all I had for you this morning. So let's look at some comments here. Brian Byler from Ohio was the first one to ring in, and that was before we went live. Looks like William Pagan from Chirac, Illinois. I've never even heard of that one. Bill Roach, morning from South Carolina, and Christia Thomason made it, she says. And then after we went live, we got Paul Akers. He says, good morning. That was the first one. And we've got an unusual username from the Netherlands. I don't even know how to, it's NIOTLERA 70 from the Netherlands. Well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. And Bob Scott from Newfoundland, Canada, and DE from Alberta, Canada. We do have a lot of folks from Canada. I'm surprised how many we have from Europe, from the UK area and just Europe in general. Let's see. Do we have any question marks? We got Spike Moto down there, says, do you have to protect your eyes with the beams of that laser level shooting all over the place? It causes instant blindness. like the little headlamp. If you saw that little tool I was showing off in the directions, it says, do not shine in anyone's eyes. It causes instant blindness. Well, all lasers are like that. You don't want to look at them directly. So, but the light on the wall or just walking through it, it's no problem. I mean, I wouldn't want to go like this, and put my eye looking at it. No, you wouldn't want to do that. But otherwise, you're fine. It's not going to be a problem. You do not want to look directly at it. That's for sure. Cup of Cool. Okay, I'm not sure I remember seeing that one before. Yeah, he's got some question marks. I was just wondering if you ever considered filming your wildlife from your stands. I would love to see some of the big old bucks. Well, I don't do very much hunting anymore, quite honestly, but I do have some decent cameras now and for outside, and so I when I do hunt a little bit this fall, I will have it out there with me for sure. And if we get lucky and see anything, I'll be sure to show you. But yeah, I love. I used to probably hunt as much as anybody, but honestly, I've slowed down quite a bit on that, and I do still rifle hunt, and most of the time when I'm sitting there rifle hunting for deer, I'm really looking for coyotes and the wild boar. That's what I'm really after. If I see those, I'm shooting for sure. On the deer, unless he's bigger than anything I have on the wall, he's got a free pass. And anyway, and most of them have a free pass, just so you understand. I would say at least 9 out of 10 of them have a free pass. Maybe 99 out of 100 actually would be probably more accurate. Thomas Barkdole, he doesn't have any question marks, but he says, let us know if you recall the name of that pond seal's secret. Yeah, well, I mentioned it after I couldn't think of it, I said it right just a few minutes later. It's bentonite, bentonite, I think. I don't know how to spell it, bentonite. But it's called pond sealer at most farm supply places. It is good stuff. I mean, it's just a type of clay is really all it amounts to. It's been pelletized or whatever, and when you put it in water, it gets real, I don't know, sticky, I guess, and just it flows into the cracks and stuff. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But it's just bentonite clay. And it's used in other things. There's lots of purposes for it. In fact, Sue's been using some of it to mix with the clay she's been getting out of the pond. You have to have some kind of an agent that you put, well, you don't have to have, but it's better if you have some sort of an agent that you put in with the clay that you dig out of the ground. I don't even know what you called it now. Some sort of I want to say like a drying agent. That's not it. It was some kind of an agent. I forget what it did, but anyway. So that bentonite clay is used for a lot of purposes. It's used in industry for various and sundry things too. I think you mix it even with some of the green sand has that in there for like when you're pouring aluminum or melted aluminum into molds, into sand molds. I think it's mixed in that kind of clay or in that kind of sand sometimes. Anyway, it's got a lot of purposes. Let's see. Bob Scott says, did I find out what the gadget is? This thing here. Well, to be honest, I just didn't think to look in the comments yesterday. So I need to look at the comments and see if anybody found out what it was. If anybody, knows what it is or found out what it is, put it in the comments right now, if you would. Yeah, it's an interesting item, and I know I've seen something, if not exactly like it, I've seen something really similar. And my thing that I think that I'm going with is a harrow. And they make different kinds of harrows, but the kind I'm thinking of is the kind with the spiked teeth. And it's kind of, if you pictured like, I don't know, a 6-foot square or something like that, and then it's got rows of spikes and across that square, like maybe 10 rows of 10 rows of spikes across that 6-foot square. And then it's got a lever on it where you can turn those spikes straight up and down, or you can turn them at a drag angle, or, you can turn them straight up and down, or you can tilt them where they're not dragging at all. And that's what I think this is for something like that, is to change the angle of like the spikes on a harrow, or, the plow, maybe something to do with the angle of a plow or something like that. That's just what I think it is. I don't really know. I could be completely wrong on that, but it sure does look familiar to me. I really do think I've seen something just like it. Mark Batchelder says, be careful with that laser. It will cause instant blindness. Really? Yeah, I'm sure it could. Any laser you don't want to poke them in your eye. Like I said, if you're just walking around, I don't think there's any danger at all. You just don't want to be looking directly at it. That's for sure. Bill Carter. When will you be going back to Mountain View? Well, that's a good question, Bill, and I should have done it already. Everybody else has already made their reservations, but we are going back in October, and let me see if I can come up with it. I'm going to get my calendar up here and see if I can tell you. I believe it's Thursday the 19th through the 22nd. So I think it's October 19th through the 22nd. October 19th just happens to be my brother's birthday. My brother Steve, which you've never seen on the channel, he was the master carpenter, is who he is. And anyway, so that's the 19th of October through the 22nd. We're supposed to be back down in Mountain View. And I still haven't made my reservations, so I guess I better get busy. Spazin is the username, says, what's the best tuner for checking intonation? Well, you can do it pretty much with any electronic tuner. Because I'm doing it so much, I preferred to just have one sitting on my bench. And because, I don't have to attach it to anything, and I'm going one right after another, so, a lot of times. So to me, it was just handy to have one sitting on the bench that could read it, through the air type deal. And that's this one here. And I do have this on the products I use list. It's a Korg QT, or either, is that a Q or is that an O? I think it's OT. It's Orchestra T. I think orchestra is what it stands for. In fact, it does. It says orchestral tuner. So that's what it stands for, OT. And it's got 120 there, dash 120. This is a Korg. This is my second one of these I've had over the years. They last a long, long time. And this is the second one, and it's showing its signs of wear now, but I've had it a long time, still works just fine. It's got its built-in microphone, so you don't have to have it attached to anything. It's got all kinds of adjustments for slow, medium, fast. I leave it set on fast, and I never change it, really, honestly. That's all I ever do. Fast just, it's just my interpretation, and I could be all wet on this, is it picks up the note or the signal faster. It seems to work quicker to me. So that's why I leave it on fast. But I don't really know that. But you can calibrate it. It's got all kinds of ways to mess with it. There's a little bit of a learning curve if you get it out of calibration. If you get it out of calibration, basically this button over here on the far right on the thing, you just keep pressing this until you get back to 440 or it has all kinds of modes. I forget what it is. But anyway, the last one is like YT or Y4 or something like that. And then the next one is the one you want. This is all I can tell you. You just go around it. It just goes in a circle. And you just keep going until you see that YT, Y4, whatever it is. And then the very next one is the one you want. So in case you get it out of calibration. Anyway, moving on. Thomas... Let me see here. Did I skip some? I may have. Cup of Cool says, I believe anybody that hunts for an extended time in their lives start giving passes because once you pull the trigger, the real work begins. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. It's an enjoyable sport, hobby for me. It always has been. I try to have complete respect for everything, and I try to, make it a clean, good shot. I know I'm bragging when I say this, but it's just true because I've done it my whole life. I'm a real good shot, and because I was a competition archer, that makes you a good shot. I mean, when you're shooting at 100 yards at a 9-inch bullseye, and you got to be steady like this in the wind, you get to be a darn good shot with a gun. I mean, I can really shoot a gun, or I always could. So that factor alone, I got to be honest, I couldn't even tell you how many deer I've harvested. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but it's got to be at least 100. I would say at least 100. And that 100, and a lot of them were shot running, which is kind of a no-no for most people, but a lot of them were shot running, and I've never hit one, not one single one, in the guts. So that'll tell you how I can shoot. Not one. Every single one of them was through the heart, lungs, or it went into the heart, lungs. You know what I'm saying? Not a single one was ever shot in the guts. And that even includes with the bow, except for one. I did hit one with a bow in the guts, but it was kind of a unique setup, and I wasn't going to give him a pass because of the circumstances. I'll tell you on that if you want to hear it, I guess. And well, whether you want to hear it or not, I'll tell you. I was sitting at the far back of my property. I mean, really back, almost to the very back end. I was 50 yards from the back line. In that brushy, swampy area that you've seen me drive through, I've shown this little swamp that's back there in the springs and stuff. And, I was in a real high tree. And 300 yards in front of me, going up a hill, would be perpendicular to my line of sight. So he's going across, going up a hill. I see this buck and it's windy. And so I hit my doe bleat, and a doe bleat is just a sound of a female deer. You know, they claim it's while she's in estrus. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But anyway, it does attract a buck during the mating season if you use it correctly. Well, I hit that doe bleat thinking he'll never hear this. 300 yards away, every bit of that. And he's going fast up this hill. He's not walking slow. He's going fast, like he's on a mission, you know. And he wasn't running, but he was walking about as fast as a deer can walk. Anyway, so I hit that bleat, and man, he just put the brakes on like this, and he just turned his head like this, looking straight at where I was at, you know. And he just stopped, and then he just spun around. He went straight back down the hill the way he came, and you know, he went out of sight for a second or two because he's down in that low area, and then I saw him coming up the trail, coming directly at me. He was in a slow gallop coming directly at me. And I thought, oh boy, here he comes. Well, then he went off the trail and meandered around for a little while, and I was wondering, you know, what's up with that? You know, so I hit the doe bleat again. Here he comes back out in the trail, and he comes not running this time, but he's walking really fast again. Well, I'm thinking, all right, he's going to come right by. I'm going to nail him, you know. Well, as usual, they cross you up, you know. They never do what you expect them to do. And he crosses to what would be my right as I'm watching him coming, and he crosses the creek, the big creek that comes down through the valley of the farm. He crosses the creek, and he's on this other side now in the thick woods. Well, I'm thinking, now, you know, and he's still coming, but he's across the creek from me. I can shoot over there a little bit, but it's not cleaned out. That area is thick brush. But then I got to thinking, okay, well, there's the trail. I knew the trail he was on because there was a tractor trail over there, and it was thick brush, and I could see one hole. I mean, this hole was about the size of a pie plate, and the rest of it was just like solid brush and limbs and trees. And I could see one hole that I thought, if he crosses that hole, I'm going to let it go, you know. And sure enough, he crossed that hole. And he was walking so fast that I didn't time it just right, and I did hit him in the guts. Well, that's not a good shot. I'm not proud of that, but, you know, when you do that, you're supposed to give them time. You know, you give them plenty of time. So we gave him about 6 to 8 hours, and we went back and that night, it was real late at night at that point, and went out there with a flashlight, and I saw him laying down way off, and he was not dead at that point. So, you know, again, that's a sad deal. That's not a good way to shoot one. But then I just left him alone, and so the next morning I came back, and he was there, and we got him, and we, you know, harvested him and put him through the butcher process. So, I mean, he wasn't wasted or anything. But I'm not proud of the fact that I wounded that one. But I typically don't wound them. Typically they hit the ground running, walking, whatever they're doing. They just generally hit the ground. So anyway, that's just, like I said, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm bragging, but it's the truth. I over 100 deer, and I've never shot one in the guts. And these guys you go hunting with all the time, it's just left and right gut shots, just left and right. So I don't know. To me, just practice, practice. Kind of like I tell Cash, practice don't mean nothing. Perfect practice is where you improve. And so there you go. All right, let's see. Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Jerry. Can you recommend a good metal detector? We'll be retiring soon, and I think I might be a good hobby. Well, there's a lot of really good ones out there. There really are. You might want to check into them. It's pretty well black and white known that the Mind Labs are some of your best. There are several other really, really good ones, though. There's like a Deus 2 or something like that, and there's that are different. But Mind Labs is a good brand. Mine is a Mind Labs Equinox 800. Now they've changed the models now. Now they have they used to have a 600 and an 800, but they've upgraded them. Now they have a 700 and a 900. So if you really want to, go with a good one, I'd probably get something like an Equinox 900. Though that's a really good metal detector. It'll cost you a few bucks, but if you're doing it for pleasure, and wanting to have fun, it's buy once, cry once. You know what I'm saying? I've had other metal detectors. I had a Fisher, and I still have a Fisher, and it's a pretty good metal detector, but it pales in comparison to the Mind Labs 800, the Equinox 800. So, I'm a little biased because that's what I have. Everybody that has a metal detector is always biased towards their machine, if you will. But if you go out and start watching metal detecting videos on YouTube, you'll see a huge population of Equinox 800s. They're real. And like I said, and there's a newer one too. It's called... on the tip of my tongue, me and names. The Mind Labs has another one, Manicore, M-A-N-T-I-C-O-R-E, I think, Manicore. Anyway, that's supposed to be a really, really good one also, but I think it's a lot more expensive, and I'm not sure it's all that much better for your general metal detecting than the 900, and I think the Manicore is quite a bit more expensive. So anyway, that's what I know about it. Mark Batchelder, it would be fun to see the video of you if you got wildlife motion sensor cameras. Yeah, I've had a bunch of those over the years, and man, as a matter of fact, I'm sure I've got tons of game photos. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, I was showing those on the channel here. I showed a lot of coyotes and deer, and I think I even showed a bobcat or two. We've got a lot of stuff. I don't have any cameras out lately. I tell you, those cameras, they're good and bad. They're a pain in the neck. I had the one that automatically reported to your cell phone, and that's really nice when they work, but then there's just always some reason why they have to go down, like the battery runs out or whatever, and there's just a lot of high maintenance to them. So I don't have any out at the moment, but I might get some out for this fall. You just never know. Let's see. Stephen Smith. This is the one from Rolla. Okay, well, hi, Steve. My rule for hunting is one shot kill. If it's not a good shot, I don't take it. Well, and I totally get that. And that's the way I feel too. But I also know my own capabilities. And if they're running, as long as I know it's a good shot for me, I'll take it. I couldn't even tell you the number of deer I've killed on the dead run. I mean, flat running out, and they just go like that. They just literally roll. Literally roll. And so they don't even know what hit them. They just hit the ground. And I've done it gazillions of times. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you another funny story. And again, this is a brag on me. That's what it really boils down to. But it was a fun thing for me. It really was. Sue's cousins. Now they've got lots of kids, and these are the old time farmer type families and kids, and deer was an important part of their diet, a very important part of their diet. And they took it serious, and it didn't matter whether it had horns. In fact, they didn't even want them with horns. They wanted anything they could get that was fit to eat. You know what I'm saying? It was important. So they knew I could shoot, so they would put me on the most important spot most all the time. Well, this one particular time, they're all making this drive to me. See, that's what, if you're not a hunter, you don't know what a drive is. Well, a drive is people walk through the woods, and sometimes they take pots and pans and clang them together. They make all kinds of racket and noise, and they get in kind of a line, and they run the animals or the deer or whatever out of the woods through a field or whatever, or through an opening where somebody can shoot. Well, that's what they were doing. They weren't making that kind of noise, but they do talk to each other while they're walking so that the deer hear them coming and that kind of thing. Now, they're clear on the other side of a hill from me at this point, but they're walking up this hill, and they know the deer are going to run out and come running down this open field. Well, I'm on the other side of the open field, and so I hear them get excited. You can kind of tell from their voices they got excited. And then I think I heard them shoot one time or something like that. Well, here comes 3 deer over the hill. Now, this was before I ever used a scope on a rifle. I had never used a scope on a rifle in my life up to, and even including this time. In fact, I've only used a scope on my rifle since I moved down here. So I've never used a scope before that. It was always open sights, running as fast as they can run, and shoot them that way. Well, here comes 3 deer over the hill. And, they had tags for them. It's not legal technically to do this. I'm just being honest. But I also know they were going to tag them. And I won't shoot them if they're not going to tag them. If they're, So anyway, they put me in the spot to get them the meat, These were not for me. These were for them. And so the 3 deer come over the hill. And I go, boom. I'm using a lever action, by the way. Boom, boom, And so here Sue's cousin, his name's Dennis, he comes over the hill and he sees the 1 deer laying out in the field, and he says, well, there was 3 deer. How come you didn't shoot them all? And I said, I did. He said, well, you only shot 3 times. I said, well, there was only 3 deer. And so then he can see better now where he's at now because he's walking toward me, and he goes, a few explicatives. GD, you are 1 deer killing SOB. He screams it out loud. And they were all 3 laying right there. None of them moved, and they were running at top speed. So I can hit them. I truly, truly can. I know it's a brag, but it's easy for me. I've never had any problem with it, and it's all because of the archery. I mean, that's what it is. You get real steady with lining up sights when you learn to shoot in competition in archery. So anyway, that's the end of that tune. Bob Scott says, I think your gadget is of a horse pull plow. Yeah, I think it is too. I wish I knew exactly what it is, but I know it's something along those lines. It's not a brag if you can back it up. It's a fact. Well, I do think it's a fact. Now, I got to be honest. My eyes are not quite as good as they used to be. And with a scope, honestly, I don't take too many running shots with a scope either, because scopes they're harder to find your target in. Now, I have shot a few running with the scope, but it's a little more difficult. Actually, open sights, it's not a problem. I can just drill them, not a problem at all, really. But with a scope, honestly, it's actually harder to shoot them running than it is open sights. Mark says, do you want to sell that Fisher metal detector? No, I don't. I'm going to keep it. Nostalgia for one thing, and then when friends come out here, I let them use it, that kind of thing. And let me tell you something. Before that one, I just had a real old one that I used for my metal arrows, my aluminum arrows, finding that. It was a White's metal detector. I still have it too, and it still works. But anyway, it was an early one. It was a 1970s model, maybe even a late 60s model. I don't know. But it still works. And anyway, when we first bought this farm, I was excited to try the metal detector out here. So I bought, I had that White's metal detector, and I went up around the old farmhouse, and I'm not exaggerating. 30 seconds. I've had it on for 30 seconds. And I'm sweeping it around, and bing, I hit something. I dig down. It's a 1905, might have been 1907. Anyway, it's real old. It was a solid silver Barber quarter. I mean, 30 seconds. Maybe not even that long. I just started swinging it. That's the first thing I hit. I'm going, oh man, wow. I'm excited. I'm thinking there's got to be just tons of this stuff here, right? So I go out and I bought that Fisher then. I mean, I spent, at that time, I think I spent $500 or $600 to get that Fisher, which was a lot of money, and my wife was not happy. But anyway, I bought that Fisher thinking, all right, I'm just going to find it left and right. Well, I found stuff, but I didn't find anything as exciting as that very first find in that 30 seconds, you know what I'm saying? And anyway, so the bottom line is there's a lot of stuff here, and now I have found a lot of really fine stuff with the Minelabs Equinox 800, but it's mostly because I've really put in the time. If you don't put in the time, you're not going to find very much with a metal detector. You'll find tons of trash. I mean, you can't even swing them anywhere. I mean, especially if you go like to a park area or any area like a beach where people, like on a river, even just a river beach, any kind of beach like that, you're going to find tons of stuff. But 9 out of 10 of those things you find is going to be trash. I mean, you really need to understand that it's, you're going to find a lot of trash. Now, when you learn how to read and understand your metal detector, you can pretty well tell trash from treasure. Nobody's 100% on that, but you can be about 80-20. So you can kind of know before you dig it, well, this is going to be trash, but I'm going to dig it anyway, because sometimes you just get fooled, And so that's the way it is here, especially when I'm in the far back. I dig almost everything. Now, when I get real close to where the houses are, you hear that. That's just nails mostly. It's just. It's got a low grunting sound. Those are nails for the most part. And for the most part, I don't dig those because, man, you'd be all day long digging those things. And it's not that some of them could be good, but there's hundreds of them, and you just can't spend the time digging those things. You won't dig anything but trash. So you kind of have to discriminate on your own, and they do have built-in discrimination in the metal detectors also. So you can turn it to like that Fisher, for example. It's a very good one for coins. I mean, that Fisher probably is the best one I've ever had for coins. If you just want to hunt coins, and if you're in a park setting, man, that thing will just find you coins all day long. And pretty much what it says is what it is. Like if it says it's a nickel, it's a nickel. If it says it's a dime or quarter, it's a dime or quarter. If it says it's a penny, it's a penny. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty accurate on that part. But it doesn't go as deep, and it's not as skookum, if you will, or just as powerful as the Equinox 800. The Equinox 800 still shines above the Fisher, but the Fisher's a very good metal detector. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. One or two more comments here. Yeah. Here's the comment that all the hunters say. You can't eat those antlers. You can't do the, like Mark is saying, antlers don't make good soup, and, you can't eat those antlers. Well, here's what I always say back, but you can't hang the meat on the wall either. And I know most of you, and I realize I'm a little unique on this, but most of you don't want to hang them on the wall anyway. I get that. But if you live the style of life that I've lived my whole life, hanging the trophy antlers on the wall is kind of a nice thing. It's kind of neat. And I like them in my man cave. It's an old log cabin. It just kind of fits. So anyway, but like I said, 99 out of 100 of them get a free pass. I mean, unless it's a monster, I'm not shooting it anymore. Plus, to be truthful, the big bucks don't taste all that great. Stephen Campbell gave me a super chat. Thank you so very much. I'm not much of a hunter, but you make it sound pretty interesting. Well, Stephen, it is what it is. It's some parts of it are super fun, super enjoyable. The sitting out there, just relaxing and listening to the sounds and watching the animals and all that stuff, to me is just, it's like heaven on earth to me. The actual harvest of the deer is about that much of the experience. It's a big high for a few seconds, and then, like somebody said, the work starts. It's not easy. Cleaning the deer, processing the meat, all that is work. I mean, it's flat out black and white work. Now, thank goodness my wife's into it, and she likes the deer meat, and she does, I would even say, the lion's share of the processing. I do the skinning and the quartering up, and then I do help her cut it up too. But then that's about where it ends for me. She does the like grinding and making hamburger and all that kind of stuff. She pretty much takes care of the rest of that by herself. But anyway, it is good food. I mean, it really is. It is, especially when you mix it with like some pork. Fat type stuff or pork sausage even you can mix it with, and take some of the gaminess off of it, because deer meat does have a gamey taste. I do like it, but I only like it if it's cut real thin and like steak fry type thin, and you fry it up or you cook it up thin like that, and then I cut it into very small pieces because it can be kind of tough. I cut it into very small pieces, and then because of my weird taste, and I don't like all the herbs and spices that everybody else would throw in there to make it taste better. I don't like any of that. I like it plain, but I will put like A1 sauce on it, and that's really good. And I do like A1 sauce. Alonzo Quesada says, silly question, do you eat the deer? Yes, of course we do. And of course I just told you that. But if so, what's your favorite deer dish? Well, to me, it's just the steaks. I really do like the steaks. However, when she grinds it up and mixes it with like either beef hamburger or pork sausage type stuff, those are really good too. I mean, they taste really good when she mixes it like that. So that's really good. Now, keep in mind, I'm the most weird eater on the planet. I mean, because of being born a taster and can taste chlorophyll, I don't put anything else in it. Everything I eat is plain. Everything. My wife says if it doesn't taste like cardboard, I don't like it. That's pretty much true. It's not because I can't taste it. It's because I can. I can taste stuff you guys cannot taste. And that's another black and white fact. That's not a lie, or it's not some exaggeration. I've been tested for it, and I can taste stuff that you just can't taste. I think I've told this once before, but my son, he always doubts these things when I tell him these things, because he's not colorblind. He doesn't have the taste thing. He doesn't have the sinus thing either, where he can't breathe, that kind of thing. He takes more after my wife, So he doubts all this stuff that I say. And he still does. To this day, he still doubts it. And I prove it to him time and time again, but he still doubts it, And anyway, like on the water situation, here's just an example of how fine my taste is. I said, I'm telling you, JR, I can taste the difference in the water coming out of that tap and the water coming out of the refrigerator. He's going, there is no way. I said, I'm telling you, I can taste the difference. So I said, I'll tell you what you can do. You do it, and I won't know nothing about it. You put 2 things of water, one from the refrigerator, one from the faucet, put them in glasses, same kind of glasses, put them in the refrigerator if you want to, leave them set for a day, and then give them to me, and I can tell you the difference. I took the first drink. I said, this one came out of the refrigerator. He's going, how do you know that? That's how fine my taste is. I'm seriously telling you, my taste is different than your taste. That's all I can tell you for sure. You can believe what you want, but it's so rare. And why couldn't I just won the lottery instead? I mean, I would have much rather won the lottery. I got so many genetic defects like the color blindness, the night blindness, the stupid big hands, double X extra large gloves, I just rip them apart. Just stupid things like that. I don't know why I am that way, but I am definitely a genetic defect. The AB negative blood, I don't know, just craziness, just absolute craziness. If you don't exactly like deer meat, but when you make a sausage, throw them into a smokehouse, best sausage ever. Yeah, there's a lot of people like all the sausage and stuff, but most of that's too spicy for me. I don't like most sausages. I like mild sausages. I definitely don't want anything that's got all that extra flavor because, man, it's amplified for me. I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. I've used examples like it's like trying to say you like to drink gas. I mean, like when I try to eat something green, it's kind of like that. But probably a better, more relatable example would be like when I eat any kind of vegetable. It's sort of like if you went out and pulled tree leaves off of a tree and tried to eat the leaves. It's kind of like that. It's like it doesn't taste like food. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it is when I eat vegetables. It doesn't taste like food. It tastes like something you should not be putting in your mouth. It's because I can taste the chlorophyll. And other things too. I can taste other things in it, Anything it's just hard to explain. And unfortunately, like I told you, none of my kids got it. None of my grandkids got it until Trinian. Trinian's number 7 out of 8 grandkids. And Trinian got the taste thing. And God bless him, I wish he wouldn't have, because it's not fun, because you don't realize how many things revolve around food. But pretty much everything in life does. Everything. You go visit somebody, it's food. Holidays, it's food. Business meetings, there's a luncheon or a food. Everything's food, and you're always the oddball out, going, well, no, thank you. I really don't want. It's always like that, and it sucks. It really does. It really does. Anyway, moving on. I'm not looking for pity party here. I'm just explaining. Cup of cool. For myself, cut some tenderloin up and fry it. Yum, yum. Yeah. And yeah, the back straps and the tenderloins, those are really good. That's the best part of your deer. If you don't know what the back straps are, they literally go right along the backbone on both sides of the deer. There's like a cup in there. Like the backbone comes up like this. And so the backbone has a peak to it like this. And there's a little like this, and then the ribs come around. So in that little peak there, that's muscle through there, and it's pretty much clean, solid muscle all the way, and that's called the back straps. So you take those out and you slice them just like you're cutting off a pole. Or like a sausage. It's just kind of like you're cutting off a sausage. And so we fry those up real thin, really good. And then the tenderloins are on the inside, and they're kind of opposite of the back straps, but they're not nearly as big. The back straps are real long and go down the back, and the tenderloins are more toward the lower back, if you will, in the inside there. And you cut those out, and they're kind of similar in that you can chop them up like sausage also. For me, cutting the deer meat, again, because of my taste, cutting them thin and letting a lot of that blood out when you're cooking it makes it taste better to me. I don't like to keep the blood in at all. It gives it way too gamey of a taste. So, and that's another thing too. If you do go deer hunting and I'm not going to name any names, but I see lots of people do this. They'll leave their deer in the back of a hot truck on a hot day type thing, and they, we will take care of it when we get home, that kind of thing. No. If you really want it to taste its best, you shoot the deer, you gut it instantly. I mean, like within 5 minutes, you want the guts out. That helps it cool off a lot faster. Then for my money, within an hour, I want the skin off of it. That helps it cool off a lot faster. And you want to hang it in a cool place. You want to try to keep the temperature, are close to freezing if you can. I mean, generally in the wintertime when you're hunting, it's pretty cool. So, although it warms up a lot during the day, but I'll hang them inside my shop and leave the shop doors closed, and that cold air that's in there trapped inside the shop keeps it cool a lot longer. And I'll let them hang. Sometimes we'll let them hang a day or two. Apparently letting them hang a little bit longer makes them a little more tender, makes them taste a little better. But you got to keep them cool. If you let them get warm, say above, 40 degrees, above that, it's not really good. You don't want to do that. You want to keep them cool. Not necessarily frozen, but cool. And but you do, honestly, instant cleaning, instant cooling them off is way the best way to go. A lot of guys take bags of ice and throw them inside the carcass after they get the guts out. The field dressing is probably the most important step, is to get the guts out instantly. There's a lot of myths and wives' tales and things that aren't true about that. Like so many people are, have the thing about you got to cut this gland out of their knee because it's got a scent gland in it. It's not going to affect anything. You can believe what you want, but it doesn't affect anything. Taking care of them really, really quickly is what affects the taste and all that. I think that's it for today. More or less just rambling at this point. I hope I didn't offend anybody with these tales of harvesting animals. I know that a lot of people are completely 100% opposed to it. But on the other hand, if you are, then you must be a 100% vegan, vegetarian type person, because otherwise you're eating animals too, and you really have no room to talk. And, like going to McDonald's, there's a whole lot of animals harvested there. And where they harvested as humanely as what I do, I doubt it. I really doubt it. So, and were they as clean, in the processing also, I kind of doubt it. Do I eat McDonald's? Yep, I do. Anyway. But like I said, I'm just rambling. But the point is, there's a lot to all of this, and there's room for all of it in this world, And if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, I got no problem with that. But I can't be a vegetarian or a vegan. Literally cannot. It's impossible. I would die if you put me in a cell and you threw me this stuff to eat. You might as well be throwing me tree leaves off of a tree, because I'm not going to eat it. That's the whole story. We had 140 some viewers there for a minute. I guess I lost a couple in the last couple minutes. We're down to 100. We're now 135. They're dropping fast. Okay, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in. Wait a minute. Somebody says, I was also wondering if you used pelts for hide glue. You know how to trip my trigger, don't you? I'll see you tomorrow.